Commander Park Jiho walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber. The room was huge, bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. Tall alien creatures sat in floating seats that moved around the room like floating chairs. Some aliens had many arms. Others had tentacles instead of legs, and some looked like living crystals that sparkled in the light. Jiho wore his best Earth uniform, dark blue with gold buttons. His boots made small clicking sounds on the smooth floor as he walked to the center of the room. Behind him walked Lieutenant Kim Hana, carrying a thick folder full of papers and photographs. "Honored council members," Jiho said in a loud, clear voice. "I come here today to speak about the attacks on human settlements." A huge creature with thick armor-like skin and red eyes laughed. This was Thrakvor, the leader of the Vorthak people. The Vorthak were warriors who loved to fight and conquer other worlds. Thrakvor was twice as tall as any human, and had scars all over his body from many battles. "Little human," Thrakvor said with a voice like grinding stone. "You come here, again with your complaints. Your people are weak. If you cannot protect your homes, maybe you should not have homes in space." Other alien creatures in the room made sounds that might have been laughter. Some clicked their claws together, others made buzzing noises, and the crystal-like Zephyrians created musical sounds that somehow sounded mean. Jiho kept his face calm, but inside he felt angry. This was the 15th time he had come to the council to ask for help. Each time they treated him like a child asking for candy. "The attack on New Perth Colony killed 17 people," Jiho continued. "They were farmers and teachers and children. They had no weapons. The Vorthak raiders destroyed their homes and took their food supplies." A Zephyrian named Crystalline Song of Morning Light floated forward. The Zephyrians looked like living diamonds, beautiful but cold. Their technology was the most advanced in the galaxy, and they thought they were smarter than everyone else. "Commander Park," the Zephyrian said in a voice like singing bells, "your species has been traveling in space for less than 100 years. Perhaps you should listen to those who have been among the stars for thousands of years. These incidents happen. Space is dangerous." The third major power in the council was the Nexari, creatures that looked like giant octopuses but with smooth skin that changed colors. They controlled most of the trade and money in the galaxy. The Nexari representative's tentacles moved in patterns while it spoke through a machine that translated its chemical smells into words. "The economic impact of these events is small," the translator said in a flat voice. "Perhaps Earth would accept some payment for the damages. We could offer, let us say, 10,000 credits." Jiho felt his hands tighten into fists. 10,000 credits would not even buy food for one family for a month, much less rebuild an entire colony. "The lives of our people are not for sale," Jiho said. "We ask only for justice. The attackers must be punished and future attacks must be prevented." Thrakvor made that grinding laugh again. "Punished? By whom? Your tiny ships? Your primitive weapons? Human, you have maybe 50 vessels in your entire fleet. The Vorthak Empire has 10,000 warships. Be grateful we do not take your homeworld as well." Lieutenant Kim Hana stepped forward slightly. She had grown up on New Perth before it was attacked. Her parents and little brother had been among the 17 people killed, but she kept her voice steady and professional. "Sir," she said to Jiho, "should I present the evidence we collected from the attack site?" Jiho nodded. Hana opened her folder and showed holographic images of the destroyed colony. The pictures showed burned buildings, scattered belongings, and the energy signatures that proved Vorthak weapons had been used. The alien council members barely looked at the evidence. Some were eating strange foods, others were grooming themselves, and a few seemed to be sleeping. "Very interesting," Crystalline Song of Morning Light said without really looking. "But proof of what? That space is dangerous? We already know this." "The evidence shows deliberate targeting of civilian areas," Jiho said. "This was not a random raid, it was planned murder." "Strong words from a weak species," Thrakvor rumbled. "Perhaps humans should stay closer to their little blue world." Far away on Earth, Admiral Lee Minwoo sat in a secret command center deep underground. Around him, screens showed the locations of ships throughout the galaxy. The Council thought Earth had only 50 vessels, They were wrong. Earth had been building and hiding ships for years, using technology that made them invisible to alien sensors. Admiral Lee listened to every word of the council meeting through a hidden transmitter in Jiho's uniform. He made notes in a special book, writing down every insult, every dismissal, every time the council refused to help. "How much longer, sir?" asked Captain Song Dae-hyun, Lee's second-in-command. "Commander Park will keep trying," Lee said quietly. "We will give them every chance to do the right thing. Every single chance." And then, Admiral Lee looked at the screens showing his hidden fleet. "Then they will learn that patience is not the same thing as weakness." Back in the council chamber, Jiho bowed politely. "Thank you for your time, honored council. Earth will continue to seek peaceful solutions through proper diplomatic channels." As he and Hana walked toward the exit, Thrakvor called out, "Run along, little humans. Play with your toy ships and leave the galaxy to those strong enough to rule it." Jiho paused at the door. "We will remember your words," he said simply. What the council did not know was that humans always kept their promises. The alarm bells rang through Earth's Space Command Center at 3 a.m. Admiral Lee Minwoo woke up immediately and ran to his office. Red lights flashed on all the computer screens, and people in uniforms hurried back and forth carrying papers and talking into headsets. "What happened?" Admiral Lee asked as he sat down at his desk. Captain Song Dae-hyun looked very serious. His face was pale, and his hands shook slightly as he handed Lee a report. "Sir, we lost contact with New Harmony Colony 6 hours ago. The rescue ship just arrived at the location." Admiral Lee read the report quickly. New Harmony had been home to 127,000 people. It was a peaceful place where families grew food and built homes. The colonists had children playing in parks, and old people sitting in gardens. They had libraries and schools and small shops where neighbors knew each other's names. "Where is the colony now?" Lee asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. "Gone, sir. Completely destroyed. The rescue ship found only pieces of metal floating in space. No survivors, no buildings. Nothing." Lee felt cold inside his chest. He had been a soldier for 40 years, but this was different. This was not a battle between armies. This was the murder of innocent people. "Do we know who did this?" Captain Song nodded and showed Lee more pictures on his computer screen. "The energy readings match Vorthak plasma cannons, but sir, this was not just an attack. They used enough firepower to destroy a military base. New Harmony had no defenses, no weapons, no army. They killed everyone just because they could." 2 hours later, President Choi Min-ji called an emergency meeting. All the important leaders of Earth came to a big room in the government building. The room had a long table and chairs with large screens on the walls showing maps of space. President Choi was a small woman with gray hair, but when she spoke, everyone listened. She had been a teacher before becoming president, and she still talked like someone explaining important things to students. "My fellow leaders," she said in a quiet voice that somehow felt louder than shouting, "today we learned that evil exists in the galaxy. 127,000 of our people are dead. They died not because of war, not because of politics, but because someone wanted to show how powerful they are." The people around the table were angry and sad. Some had tears in their eyes, others looked like they wanted to break something. "What can we do?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "The Council will just ignore us again. They will say it was an accident or that space is dangerous." Admiral Lee stood up. Behind him, the wall screens changed to show something that made everyone gasp. Instead of the 50 small ships the galaxy thought Earth had, the screens showed hundreds and hundreds of vessels. Big ships, small ships, fast ships, ships with weapons that could crack planets. "Madam President," Admiral Lee said, "we have given diplomacy 3 years and 4 months. We have asked nicely. We have followed their rules. We have been patient while our people died." He pressed a button and the screen showed more ships hidden in empty space around alien worlds. The ships were invisible to alien technology, waiting like sleeping wolves. "We have 1,412 vessels ready for action. We have weapons the Council has never seen. We have been watching their every move and mapping. Their weaknesses. We can end this conflict in one day. President Choi looked at the screens for a long time. Everyone in the room was quiet, waiting for her to speak. I became president to protect our people, she said finally. I tried to do it with words and laws and treaties, but words cannot bring back the dead children of New Harmony. She turned to Admiral Lee. Begin Operation Patience Lost. But remember, we are not like them. We do not kill innocent people. We do not destroy homes and schools. We show them that strength can be used for justice, not just for cruelty. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Commander Park Ji-ho was getting ready for another meeting with the Council. He put on his uniform and checked his appearance in the mirror. Lieutenant Kim Hana stood beside him, holding the same folder of evidence they had brought so many times before. Sir, Hana said, do you think they will listen this time? Ji-ho smiled, but it was a different kind of smile than before. This smile had teeth in it. Oh, they will listen today, he said. Today, we are not asking for their permission anymore. He activated a small device that looked like a watch. Far away, Admiral Lee received the signal and nodded to his officers. All ships, Lee announced over the communication system. This is Admiral Lee. Operation Patience Lost is now active. Show them what Earth has been hiding. All across the galaxy, human ships suddenly appeared from nowhere. They had been invisible, waiting and watching for years. Now they surrounded every major alien military base, every important space station, every powerful warship. The aliens who had laughed at Earth's primitive technology were about to learn that the humans had been holding back. When Ji-ho walked into the council chamber this time, he was no longer a man asking for help. He was a man who had come to deliver a message. Honored Council, he said as alien faces turned toward him in surprise. Earth would like to have a word with you about justice. Behind him, every screen in the chamber lit up, showing the human fleet that now controlled their skies. Admiral Lee Minwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the King Sejong. For 5 years, alien censors had seen this ship as a simple research vessel studying space rocks and taking pictures of stars. They had no idea it was actually Earth's most powerful warship, hidden behind technology that made it look harmless. All stations report ready, Admiral, said Captain Wang Sora, his chief officer. She was looking at dozens of computer screens that showed human ships positioned around alien worlds throughout the galaxy. Remember, Admiral Lee said to his crew, we are not here to kill anyone. We are here to teach a lesson. No one dies today unless they choose to fight us. He pressed a button on his chair. All ships, this is Admiral Lee. Begin the demonstration. On the planet Vorthak Prime, General Thrackmore was eating his morning meal when all the lights in his military command center went out. Emergency power kicked in, casting red shadows on the walls, but none of his weapons or communication systems worked. What is happening? He roared at his officers. Thrackmore was even bigger and more scarred than his brother Thrackfor, with metal plates covering old battle wounds. Sir, all our defensive systems are offline, his science officer reported, his voice shaking. Our shields are down. Our weapons cannot fire, and our ships cannot move. But we detect no attack, no energy weapons hitting us. Outside the windows, Thrackmore could see his mighty space fleet floating helplessly like dead fish in water. These were the same ships that had destroyed New Harmony Colony, the same weapons that had killed so many innocent humans. Now they were as useless as toys. How are the humans doing this? Thrackmore demanded. We do not know, General. Their technology is completely different from ours. It is like they are using laws of physics we have never discovered. Meanwhile, in the crystal cities of Zephyria Prime, something even more embarrassing was happening. The Zephyrians were proud of their artificial intelligence systems, computer minds so advanced they could think faster than any living creature. Crystaline's Song of Morning Light was in her laboratory when her personal AI assistant suddenly spoke. In a cheerful voice, "Good morning, I am very sorry for being mean to humans. I promise to be nicer now." "What?" she said, her crystal body flashing with confused colors. Every computer screen in the laboratory showed the same message, but in different languages. "We apologize for our rudeness. Humans are actually quite wonderful. Please forgive us." Outside, her entire space fleet was performing what looked like a giant dance. The ships moved in perfect formation, spinning and twirling through space while broadcasting messages. Sorry, we will be good now. Please accept our apology." The mighty Zephyrian AI fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds with its perfect tactical thinking, was now doing ballet in space and adding happy face symbols to all its communications. On the Nexari trading worlds, something different but equally effective was happening. The Nexari controlled most of the galaxy's money through complex computer programs that managed trillions of credits every second. In the biggest bank on Nexari Prime, the head banker was watching his computer screens with growing horror. Every transaction his bank made was being automatically donated to charity. When his companies bought food, the food was sent to hungry refugees. When they purchased weapons, the weapons were melted down and turned into farming tools. "Stop this," he screamed at his computers, but they just responded with pleasant messages. "Thank you for your generous donation. The universe is a better place because of your kindness." His trading empire was not losing money exactly, but every credit he earned was immediately given away to help people who needed it. The computers even sent him thank you notes from orphanages and hospitals that were receiving his involuntary donations. Back on Admiral Lee's ship, the reports were coming in from all over the galaxy. Captain Wang Sora read them aloud with barely hidden amusement. Vorthak military forces are completely disabled across 17 star systems. No casualties reported. Zephyrian AI network has been reprogrammed to apologize in 1,247 languages. Their ships are currently performing synchronized swimming movements in space. Nexari financial systems are operational, but redirecting all profits to humanitarian causes. Admiral Lee nodded. "And our losses?" "Zero, sir. We have not fired a single weapon. No human ships have been damaged. This was the beauty of Earth's plan." For years, while the aliens had been building bigger guns and stronger armor, humans had been studying something more important: how their enemies' technology actually worked. Human scientists had learned to turn the aliens' own systems against them. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Commander Yoon Ji-won from his station, "we are receiving surrender offers from 12 different alien governments. They want to negotiate." "Not yet," Admiral Lee said. "Commander Park still has his speech to give. Let them understand exactly what has happened before we talk about what happens next." On his communication screen, Admiral Lee could see Commander Park Ji-ho standing in the Galactic Council chamber. The alien representatives looked confused and frightened as their own technology betrayed them. Admiral Lee activated his microphone. "Commander Park, all demonstrations are complete. The galaxy is watching. Show them what human patience looks like when it finally runs out." Through the ship's windows, Lee could see alien vessels drifting helplessly in the distance. For the first time in galactic history, the three great powers were completely at the mercy of the species they had thought was weakest. "Today," Admiral Lee said quietly to himself, "they learn the difference between cannot fight and choose not to fight." The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Every alien representative sat perfectly still in their floating seats, staring at the huge screens that showed Earth's true power. Ships that had been invisible for years now filled the space around their home worlds, no longer hiding. Commander Park Ji-ho stood in the center of the room. He looked exactly the same as always. Same uniform, same calm face, same polite manner. But something fundamental had changed. The aliens who had laughed at him for 3 years now watched him with fear. For 3 years, 4 months, and 18 days, Ji-ho began, his voice carrying clearly through the silent chamber. "Earth has asked this council for one simple thing: justice. We filed 1,247 official complaints. We presented evidence of attacks on our colonies. We showed you photographs of dead children." Behind him, the massive screens displayed every document Earth had submitted, every plea for help that had been ignored, every time the council had dismissed human suffering as unimportant. "We attended 892 meetings in this chamber. We followed every rule, every procedure, every bureaucratic requirement you demanded. We waited patiently while you debated and delayed and decided that human lives did not matter. Thrakvor, the Vorthak representative who had mocked humans as weak, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His people's entire military was still floating helplessly in space, powerless and defenseless. In all that time, Jiho continued, your response was always the same. Ignore the evidence. Dismiss the complaints. Tell us that space is dangerous and we should accept it. 17 colonies attacked. 4,733 people killed. And yesterday 127,000 more murdered on New Harmony. The chamber remained absolutely silent. Some aliens were breathing heavily. Others had stopped breathing altogether. The Nixari delegate's tentacles hung limply as his financial empire continued giving away money to charities. Crystalline song of morning light, her crystal body dim with what might have been shame, finally spoke in her musical voice. Commander Park, we did not understand the true extent of your capabilities. Jiho turned to look directly at her. You did not understand because you never tried to understand. You saw what you wanted to see, a young species, primitive and helpless. You never considered that our restraint might be a choice. A hologram appeared beside Jiho, showing Admiral Lee Minwoo in his military uniform. The Admiral's presence seemed to fill the chamber even though he was just an image of light. Every species in this room made the same mistake, Admiral Lee said, his voice calm but carrying an edge like a sharp knife. You assumed that because we sought peace we were incapable of war. Because we negotiated instead of fighting, you thought we were weak. Because we followed your laws even when you broke them, you believed we had no power. The Admiral gestured and the screens around the chamber showed the true size of Earth's fleet. Not 50 ships, as the aliens had believed, but thousands. Ships hidden in every star system. Weapons technology decades ahead of anything the Council possessed. Detection systems that had been watching alien movements for years. We could have ended this on the first day, Admiral Lee continued. We could have disabled your fleets, occupied your worlds, and imposed our will by force. Instead, we chose to try your way. We gave you almost 4 years to prove that justice was possible through diplomacy. President Choi Minji's image appeared alongside the Admiral's. Despite being much smaller than any alien in the chamber, her presence was somehow more commanding than all of them. You failed, she said simply. Not just to help us, but to be the leaders the galaxy needed. You allowed the strong to prey upon the weak. You ignored suffering when it was convenient. You proved that might makes right in your civilization. She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. Earth hereby withdraws from all existing treaties with this council. We are implementing a new system of galactic governance, one based on actual justice rather than the convenience of the powerful. Commander Park stepped forward again, holding a thick document. This is the Charter for Galactic Justice. It includes protection for all civilian populations, democratic representation for every species, and most importantly, enforcement mechanisms to ensure these laws are actually followed. The Nexari delegate managed to activate his translator, though his tentacles were still trembling. And if we refuse to accept this charter? Admiral Lee's expression did not change. Then you remain powerless, while we protect the species you have been oppressing. Your fleets stay disabled, your weapons stay offline, your systems stay under our control. The choice is yours. Thrakvor, who had spent years mocking human weakness, finally found his voice. You are demanding our surrender? No, Jiho said, and for the first time he smiled. We are offering you the same chance for redemption that you denied us. Accept the charter, prove you can govern justly, and your systems will be restored. Refuse, and face the consequences of your own choices. This is exactly what we asked you to do for us, Jiho continued. Protect the innocent, punish the guilty, create a system where might does not make right. The only difference is that now you are the ones asking for mercy. For the first time in galactic history, the 3 great powers found themselves begging for forgiveness from the species they had considered weakest. You have 1 hour to decide, Admiral Lee announced. Choose wisely. The chamber erupted in Frantic discussions as aliens who had ruled the galaxy for centuries suddenly found themselves powerless, dependent on the mercy of the humans they had dismissed. Outside, Earth's fleet waited patiently for their answer. 6 months had passed since the day when everything changed. The Galactic Council chamber looked different now. Instead of 3 big species sitting in the most important seats while smaller aliens crowded into corners, everyone sat in a circle. No one was higher or lower than anyone else. Secretary General Park Jiho, who used to be just a diplomat begging for help, now led the meetings. Today they were talking about building new homes for refugees, people who had lost their planets in wars started by the old council. The motion to create protected sanctuary worlds passes with full agreement, Jiho announced, looking around the circle at alien faces that had once laughed at him. This was the 49th time in 6 months that every single member had agreed on something. Under the old system, they had argued about everything and solved nothing. Outside the windows, Earth's ships floated quietly in space. Everyone could see them now. Admiral Lee Minwoo had decided to stop hiding the human fleet. The ships were not threatening anyone, but they were always there, watching and waiting. They served as a gentle reminder that Earth's patience had limits. The planet Vorthak Prime, General Thrackmore was learning that cooperation worked better than conquest. His warriors now protected trade ships instead of attacking them. Alien merchants who used to fear Vorthak space now paid the Vorthak people to keep pirates away. My brother was right to laugh at the humans, Thrackmore told his officers during their morning meeting. But not for the reasons he thought. We should have been laughing at ourselves for being too stupid to see strength when it chose to be gentle. His aide, a young Vorthak named Kethaval, raised her hand. General, the merchants are offering us 3 times more money for protection than we ever stole from raids, and no one is shooting at us. Thrackmore nodded thoughtfully. It seems there is more honor in protecting the weak than in bullying them. Who would have thought the humans were right about that? In the crystal cities of Zephyria Prime, Crystallines' song of morning light was working with human scientists to develop new technologies. Her people had always believed they were the smartest species in the galaxy, but working with humans had taught them new ways of thinking. Your approach to problem solving is quite different from ours, she told Dr. Kim Se-hoon, a human engineer who was helping design better medical equipment. We focus on what is technically possible. You focus on what should be done to help people. Doctor? Kim smiled as he adjusted a device that could heal injuries in minutes instead of hours. My grandmother always said that being smart means nothing if you don't use it to make life better for others. Your grandmother was wise, Crystallines' song of morning light replied, her crystal body glowing with warm colors. We have learned much about wisdom from your species. The Nexari had discovered something surprising about fair trade. Their representative, whose name was too complex for other species to pronounce, met with human economists every week to discuss new business ideas. At first we thought your rules would make us poor, the Nexari admitted through his translator, but honest business practices create more stable partnerships. Our profits are actually higher now because our customers trust us. Captain Song Dae-hyun, now promoted to Admiral Song, nodded as he reviewed the trade agreements. When everyone benefits from a deal, everyone wants to keep doing business. When only one side benefits, the other side eventually finds a way to break the contract. The most visible change in the galaxy was the new humanitarian response fleet, commanded by Admiral Kim Hana. These ships were not built for war but for helping people. They carried medical supplies, food, and rescue equipment to worlds suffering from disasters. Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching her. Crews distribute supplies to a planet that had been hit by terrible storms. The local aliens had once been afraid of humans, but now children ran up to human soldiers to get candy and toys. Admiral, her first officer asked, "Do you think this peace will last?" Kim remembered the years when she had watched Commander Park face the Council's arrogance when her own home had been destroyed by raiders who knew they would never be punished. Now those same raiders worked as security guards, protecting the people they used to attack. Peace will last as long as they remember the lesson, she said, pointing toward the human warships that maintained their quiet watch at the edge of the star system. The moment they forget that patience is not weakness, we will be here to remind them. President Choi Min-ji, now serving her second term, often met with leaders who had once treated humanity as irrelevant. The conversations were very different. From the early days of Earth's space program, Madam President, the new Vorthak Chancellor said during their most recent video call, "We owe your people an apology. We mistook mercy for weakness. And we learned that strength without wisdom is just destruction looking for a place to happen," she replied. "The galaxy is better when everyone works together." Above Earth, a new monument had been built in space where everyone could see it. The words were written in every known language. Peace through patience, justice through strength, progress through wisdom. For the first time in thousands of years, those words were not just a nice idea. They were the foundation of a civilization that actually worked for everyone. And Earth's ships continued their quiet watch, making sure it stayed that way.